almost the whole upper deck to myself. Going home to New Jersey. It's 4:30. It's a little early for rush hour, but there were 3 people that got on the boat. It's amazing. I really thought there'd be more people riding by now. Nothing really to be afraid of. Get much better social distancing than this. So I used to know people who lived in one of these towers at the Battery Park City, and I remember at the time they bought their place and they faced inland, and it was like $100,000 less than the same unit facing out over the river. So people do want to be facing the water. Took a little longer look at Jersey City's skyline. It's nice, but it's a little on the sterile side when you're over there. And the restaurants, they're there because the people need something, but they're nothing really homegrown. They're more standard cookie cutter type places. So not the most exciting. They try. They have nice little parks. They still need to do a little more work on their infrastructure. This one little point you see here needs to either be a building or be a park. It's just sort of a landfill. Where an old pier used to be. But it's a beautiful day. It's not that humid. It's in the low 90s, high 80s. It was 31 degrees Celsius when I went over the Brooklyn Bridge earlier. And it's always cooler on the river, so that has something to going for it. If you can make out in the mid-distance, before you start seeing the high-rises in Midtown, there's a pier that sticks out on the river, and it has a high green fence, and that's Chelsea Piers, which has a lot of different things to do sports wise. That high fence is actually for a driving range, so when you hit the balls you hit them out towards the Hudson, but they're caught by the fence. It's kind of neat. They have a bowling alley there, they have a gymnastics, camps, and maybe basketball courts and stuff like that. So it's for adults and kids, so it's a nice thing. So Manhattan looks a little more vivid now with the sun behind us to the west, so it's more interesting than it did this morning when I filmed going to work. See a lot of nice new apartment buildings built along the Hudson. A lot of the people who own those units aren't there much. You see a lot of vacant apartments or apartments with their lights never turned on. So it's like an investment thing. So get a better look of Hoboken. This oval building, glass with the curving design, that is brand new. It was just finished in the last year or so. And the next tower over to its right is under construction, I believe. And then here's where we're headed, where it says Lackawanna. That's Hoboken Terminal. It's where the Lackawanna Railroad used to come in, and it would feed ferries that would then go across to Manhattan. It's one of a couple of stations. There's another one further south by the Statue of Liberty, much larger, but it's totally abandoned. It looks like something out of World War II in Europe. High-rises over where the cranes are. That's by Stevens Institute of Technology. I don't know if it has to do with the school or if it's separate, or if it's a separate development. And we'll take a last look at Manhattan before we go into the terminal and get on the train. Day. Glad to have this whole ferry ride to myself and to share with you guys. See ya. Here's the prices of the ferry. So I took the one between Battery Park City and Hoboken, so it's $7 one way, or if you get a 10 trip, it's only $6 one way. Here's where they post all the New Jersey Transit trains. And it's 4:40 and my train leaves at 5:12, so I have a half hour. It's just so quiet here. The restrooms are closed, the ticket office is closed, the seating area is closed, the newsstand is closed. We'll take a look at a little bit at Hoboken while we're here. Just show you where all the trains are. These are all just trains that go to suburban places in New Jersey. There's no Amtrak at Hoboken Terminal. If you wanted to catch Amtrak in New Jersey, you'd have to go to Newark. I think you could get to the Newark train station where the Amtrak leaves by taking a train from here to Secaucus and then transferring to another line that takes you to Newark, but faster way would probably be to take the PATH train and then get on Amtrak. Normally this station is pretty busy, teeming with people. So these are just a handful of people here going to a handful of different trains. They're trying to run regular service, but so that there's social distancing, because if they only ran a couple of trains and everybody would be squeezed onto the same train, which would defeat the purpose. So they're running everything at a huge loss. Let's just go down and take a look at the path station. And I can see they've got the center part of the stairway here taped off so that people stay socially distant. They have arrows on the floor. So you're supposed to, like in the grocery store, just go in the direction of the arrows. So this path station is really old and it's prone to flooding sometimes from the Hudson, which is a little bit above us. So I haven't ridden path also in 4 months. I could have taken path to and from the train, but I just want to avoid the subway experience and ferry, any excuse to ride the ferry even though it's more expensive. So that's what a path train is. It looks like it's coming from the World Trade Center. Pretty much where I came from. Alright, so let's go up this staircase out of the station. Take a little bit of a look at downtown Hoboken, which is nice. They have a lot of restaurants, which probably have outdoor dining only, just like New York. So you actually have to get by all the buses here. So it has, this part has Belgian block streets. Just looking back at the ferry terminal, which they only use one little small fraction of. So the ferry terminal is joined to the train station, which is this building. Although the public never goes to the upper floors. And just like on the Manhattan side, they have bike paths and walkways, at least for a good stretch. It's not as continuous as Manhattan is. They have more private housing developments that have their own private access to the river. So you can see, looking back over to Manhattan. That's one thing about New Jersey is there's a lot of places that have great views of Manhattan, probably better than most places in New York State. And in New Jersey there's a lot of towns, there start to be hills west of New York City and New Jersey, and then people live on the slopes of the hills, and so they have commanding views of Manhattan 24/7, which you just don't get living in Westchester County, north of New York City, or out on Long Island. Especially Long Island. Long Island would have to look over the relatively lower boroughs of Brooklyn and Queens. So River Street is one of the main streets of Hoboken, where there's start to be restaurants and bars, which is nice, but it's fairly close to the ferry terminal. And a lot of young people move to Hoboken, people who are kind of priced out of New York City. It's a little cheaper to live in Hoboken. And also because you have to deal with the PATH train over to Manhattan. And if you have to take PATH and the subway, it starts to eat into your savings that you're experiencing with lower rents over here in Hoboken. So we'll just walk up to Hudson Street, take a quick look up the street. And Washington Street actually is, yeah, thanks. Washington Street's actually the main street of Hoboken, so it's a couple blocks in. So we'll walk one more block over to Washington. That's a bar that's open, which I'm surprised to see. I didn't know they were allowed, but not that I'm a stickler for that or anything. I feel for the restaurants and bars. I think we have to do whatever we can to work with them, keep things safe, but still keep them open, and because a lot of the places aren't going to make it. This restaurant bar business is hard enough as it is without having this pandemic thing thrown in. So we'll just walk across. It's the main street of Hoboken, looking north, and the streets are numbered. That's First Street. So you don't get a real feel for the life of the town of a lot of places right now, but you can note it for future reference. Beautiful architecture. There's some really nice old buildings here in Hoboken. And then you see the tall buildings of Jersey City just to the south. All right, that'll do it. Just wanted to give you a quick taste of Hoboken. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next video. This is just a design, but it looks like a wild miniature golf course. That would be impossible. So one more look at Hoboken. All right, we'll see ya. And a little extra footage here at the west end of the terminal as a train pulls into the station to take people back north. It actually says Metro North Railroad on it. That's for New York State. So some trains that go up to the suburbs west of the Hudson leave from Hoboken. So it's part of the New York MTA, but we're in New Jersey. It's the end of the historic train shed. Could use a fresh coat of paint. great view of the Statue of Liberty from Hoboken Terminal as we'll focus in on it. What an Art Deco powerhouse. Built in 1931. And there's the clock tower at the Hoboken train station. I think it must have been built in the late 1800s or else the early 1900s, and they light it up at night, including the words Lackawanna, and it's actually a neat look. So, let's see if I can get any more information on the history of the station if I see it anywhere. It's a hazy day, another warm midsummer day, and there's a chance of rain forecast this afternoon. We'll see. There's Jersey City again, and the river is very calm. Up here in the middle of the river, out of the pier, that's a air intake structure for the Holland Tunnel, which is a car tunnel. And another look at Jersey City in the morning light. Enjoy it while it lasts. Here's another train station I was talking to you about. It's near the Statue of Liberty, where no trains come in anymore, but it's a beautiful structure.